C-Roc, thank you so much for being here. I've been looking forward to having you on the True Grit and Grace podcast. You are inspiring and empowering people. I mean, you're really on a mission to show others that no matter what their circumstances, no matter, what their past experiences are, they can turn any setback into a comeback and really live up to their full potential. So, welcome to the show and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I always like to start interviews by just expressing gratitude to the host because I'm very thankful and humbled that I have the opportunity to be able to share with you and your audience. And, a lot of people take gratitude for granted, which is kind of ironic, right? But also they think it's kind of corny to do and really express it sincerely. And I want you to know that I'm really thankful to have the opportunity.
Thank you. Gratitude is a huge part of my life. I mean, I do a gratitude journal every morning and I have a gratitude accountability partner, even. So if I forget, my partner's like messaging me, this is what I'm grateful for. So that means a lot. Thank you so much. Before we get started, and I'm grateful for you because also I know this is like one of the busiest times in your career because you have a new book that is launching right now as we speak. And I definitely want to get into that. But before we get into your book and all these amazing things that you're doing, could you just share a little bit about how you grew up? Because I've rarely met a strong person that doesn't have a challenging past. And I'd just love for you to share a little bit about how you grew up and what inspired you to do the work that you do now.
Sure, absolutely. So before I get started, I want to make sure I'm clear that I'm not telling these stories to disparage anybody that was in my life, because I don't know the whole story of, there's things I'm sure I don't know.
Mhm.
And it's important for me to say that because what my story is about things that some people didn't do the right way for whatever reason. And, I'm sure I could have had it worse, but I came from a broken home. I don't remember my parents ever being together. And growing up, I was doing the every other weekend thing and also having conflict above me regarding child support or custody, and then other spouses coming into play then, and then jealousy, all these different things. And as a kid, you see this going on. And one, I thought it was ordinary. I didn't know any different. But you see this going on and you're not quite sure if you're involved with it or if you have something to do with it, or there's all these things that go through your head.
Mhm.
And some things are taken out on you that shouldn't be, just because people get in reactive mode sometimes, or it's the only way they can release. But I lived with my dad for about 3 years when I was about 8 to 11 years old. And he had basically took me to dinner one night and talked me into moving in with him. And my mom, I'm sure at that age I was concerned with things because my mom had been married 3 times. She was going on her third marriage, and it was the third or the second man, I should say, other than my father, that I had to like live with and had to figure this out as a kid. And, so I might've been saying some things possibly to my dad and saying, hey, I'm not sure about this and that. So he basically confirmed, or I'm sorry, pushed me. I don't want to say pushed, but sold me into living with him. I lived there for 3 years. During that time, it was some of the most craziest things, psychological, mental abuse, not necessarily by my dad. I don't want to get into details with that beyond that, but I do get into more details in the book, but I'm not ready to release that yet as far as that story. But there's some things that went on that shouldn't have went on. And as a kid, I knew I was mature enough at 11 years old to know that I shouldn't be in this environment. Like something's not right about this. So I was coming home from one weekend at my mom's house, going over these hilly roads in southeastern Pennsylvania. And my stomach was in knots. I had that feeling inside, just like anxious. And, she's like, something's wrong. What's going on? And I'm like, well, I shared with her. I finally broke down. I was scared to share. I was afraid to share that because I didn't know if anybody would believe anything that was going on, or if I would get in trouble for sharing the information.
Mhm.
And she said, that's not normal stuff. You shouldn't be going through that. That's not, if you want to get out of there, which I think you should, I can file court papers and do it, but you must not flip flop. You must stick to your guns. You have to be totally committed, because if you're not, somebody's going to talk you out of it. They're going to sell you on why you shouldn't do something for what their beliefs are, or they're, in life in general, when you believe in something, people will try to talk you out of it to justify their position in life.
Mhm.
So I remembered that. So when I got home from school one day, weeks later, my dad had court papers in his hand, or legal envelope. And he said, go to your room. And I was already walking on eggshells as it was in that house. And I'm just like, oh, that tightening feeling again. And I go back and sit on my bed for about 5 minutes probably, but it felt like 5 hours.
Mhm.
And he comes back with this envelope and he says, it says here you want to move back with your mom. Is that true? And that's like, this whole thing's going on in my head as a kid. I knew I'd already laid the groundwork and I was waiting for the bomb to drop. Right. And so when that happened, I'm like, yeah, that's a decision I made. And he said, well, they don't have it that well there. Like, you got money here. By the way, my dad was my hero. He had his own masonry business, worked very hard, had big forearms, rough hands. When you shake his hand, you knew that he was a working man, and he busted his butt, and he did very well. And he always carried a wad of $100 bills around in his pocket and with a rubber band around. And I'm sure he was proud of that. And he used to show me all the time and flash. And I always looked up to him for that, and the fact that he was a hard worker. So he's my hero. But now when he asked me this question, like, I feel guilty because I feel like I'm letting him down. And I'm sure maybe he was hurt by it. But the fact of the matter is, there was things that going on that he allowed to happen and didn't stick up for me. That's the way I felt. So I confirmed the fact that I wanted to. He went into the fact that my mom doesn't have that well. We won't have the things there that I have there at his house. And I said, listen, the discussion's over. I remember, stick to my guns. So I stuck with it. And he says, okay, that's cool. So he takes the wad of $100 bills out, peels one off, crumples it up, and throws it at me and says, well, here, then you're going to need this money here when you're living on the streets with your mother one day. And so that right there was something that for the rest of my life, I don't let it necessarily bother me or like be a victim to it or anything like that. It's all about, at that moment, what did you think? And the two things that I thought were, one, you're not going to determine my destiny and my future. That is not the case. I get to do that. I knew at that age I was stubborn to a fault, probably, which is a strength and a liability. I knew that I was going to be like successful and I was destined for great things because nobody was going to stop me. And number two, I also thought, this is an ordinary situation. I can't be the only one in this situation. So I'm going to be able to show people by being a role model, going through something like this, and then show them what you can accomplish. And so that's this journey I've been on for 30 some years. I don't know that I was necessarily aware of it until about 2 to 3 years ago. I became really aware of it. And then, but like, I got to bottle this. I got to bottle this concept of turning setbacks into rocket fuel and share it with the world. And that's a little bit of background of where I came from and what my drive has been. And now I'm just, I've been, besides that, just around a lot of broken people, alcoholics, drug addicts, suicide. And I think that, to me, I feel like at heart, I'm a people builder, Amberly.
Oh, I just want to like hug you right now. I mean,
Air hug.
I swear, I mean, everything you said really resonates with me. And, as a kid, you just want to feel safe. You want to feel loved. You want to feel heard. And thank goodness that you went to your mom. You listened to your gut. Number one, that is huge. I think when you're little, our gut never lies. And sometimes we have people in our lives that we trust that might tell us that's not right, or you shouldn't believe that way, or they don't validate your feelings. So to really know that what was going on wasn't right in your gut, you're like, this is not right. And to go to your mom and her to hear you and want to protect you says so much. But you had an opportunity there for someone that you love. You see your dad as your hero and you trust, and for him to throw money at you and say, well, you're going to need this someday when you're on the street. You took that opportunity as motivation. Really is like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I get to choose. I have a choice. And I think that's powerful. At such a young age, you realize, no, I have a choice. But then you're doing more than that. You're helping others see that they have a choice in their life, in their destiny as well. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, how you are of service to so many people, to so many
Thank you.
businesses, and show them how to do that. What do you think? What was the day you said for 3 years, like 3 years ago, you were like, I've really turned these setbacks into like rocket fuel to succeed. And I need to like figure out how to share that with people. What are some things that you can share right now for people who are feeling stuck or feeling like they don't have a choice in the matter, or feeling like because of how they grew up that they won't amount to anything, or they're just not worthy, what are some of the things that you could suggest to them to get them unstuck?
Well, I think that that's my problem that I solve. Bottom line, I help people solve the problem of being stuck because of a setback.
Mhm.
And so, by the way, I want to point out something. I think that when I was younger, I was just thinking about this and why am I a leader? Why do I want to help people? Why is that? But I think as a parent, it's important to instill little affirmations in your kids, even if they're not something yet. I remember my mom always telling me, "You're a leader. You're a leader. Oh,
Mhm.
you're great." She would always affirm things. And prior to me even believing
I
it in
love
myself,
that. I
I
I
think
say
that,
that to my daughter
yeah,
all
I
the
think
time.
that
I'm like, "You're a leader. You're a leader."
I
Yeah.
think that plants in something. And my mom, listen, we call her crazy mom, not because she's crazy mentally, but she's just like so fun to be around, just like wild and crazy. And my kids call her crazy mom. Um, so I think that she'll admit herself, she's had her issues with um, mental problems, anxiety, depression. She's nobody's perfect, right? But one thing that she did really good was build that inside of me. And I'm very appreciative that I had that. And I'm thankful that I had my dad challenge me in that way too, by the way.
Mhm.
So people that are stuck in setbacks. So here's the thing. The only thing that stops you from achieving something in life, it's not the encouraging people. It's not the wins that you have. It's not the successes and the confidence that you have. It's the discouraging people. It's the setbacks. It's the letdowns. It's the people that talk trash on you and discourage you. It's the people. Here's another one I haven't added in a while. When you share something with them you're excited about, accomplishment you had, and they're like, yeah, or they don't even respond.
Mhm.
It's all that stuff that stops you. So here's the thing. If you can eliminate that stuff, no, not just eliminate it, actually convert it into fuel, rocket fuel for your future, you become unstoppable and indestructible. And so that's my goal. Help people that are in that position and then teach them proactively. Proactively is important, Amberly. Proactively to convert those things. Know when they get into that situation that it's okay. It hurts at first right away, but
Mhm.
quickly get a trigger. And so, okay, this is what C-Roc's talking about. I'm going to convert and then roll. And then you blow past anybody else that gets stuck and paralyzed by their setback. So that's the concept that I'm bottling for people and
Mhm.
putting a process together for people to be able to become aware of that and then train it into their brain.
I love that. And I'm glad you brought up the part about where people don't acknowledge, like when you're really excited about something, um, and people don't acknowledge it, or even worse, they say, yeah, good luck with that. I use those moments as my biggest motivating moments. And I don't know if I'm, just I really try to think of it as I'm proving to myself that I can accomplish something, but there's that little part of me that wants to say, "Oh, really? Watch me. I'm going to
Right,
do
right,
this."
right.
And then I'm going to take a picture, I'm going to post it. No. But it's hard when you have people that are discouraging, or they're, they don't you don't feel like they're on your team. Or what would you suggest to people how to build a supportive team or tribe?
First of all, the thing is, you have to understand when people are doing this that they're reflecting themselves to you. It tells a lot more about them than the accomplishments that you have. So you just need to be aware of this and understand and not let it affect you. You need to
Mhm.
take it, convert it, like I said. But the way you build some supportive people is to be really conscious of the people, first of all, that you're surrounding yourself with. Like I'll share things that I want to accomplish to people, and then I watch them. I'll just sit quiet and watch their reaction to it. If they're like, "Yeah, dude, go get it," that's awesome. I want that
Mhm.
person around me. I'll rank people. It sounds so superficial, but I'll rank people because to me, my dreams and goals are important. This is
Mhm.
only one life to live, right? And especially if it's good stuff that you want to help other people and have an impact and purpose in this world. So I'll rank people in my mind. Like I'll say, you know what? I'll say, look, I want to accomplish something. Here's something recently. I'm gonna have a book launch party in Miami. I have no idea how I'm gonna do that. Right? I've never thrown a party in my life. My wife's always taking care of it. I've never been especially in Miami. I've never set up, but it's just a cool thing. I love Miami. I love going there. I'm gonna do that. Right? And I just actually decided to do that while somebody was taking a video of me there. And I said it in the video, and then they posted it. My team posted it. I'm like, oh boy. But then I tell people this, and then I watch their responses. And then some of them, the ones that are worried about themselves and they feel like they're not achieving what they should achieve, they won't say anything, or they'll be like, really, Miami, why would you do that? Like, you're not, you know how much that's going to cost? I want to separate myself from those people as quickly as possible. So I think really it's identifying the people that are going to be supportive and the ones that aren't, and then surround yourself with those that are supportive. It's not, and it's very important to this part too, because sometimes you'll get yes men and yes women.
Hmm.
And that's not what you're looking for. I'm not talking about that just agree with everything that you do. It's okay to be challenged, but it's got to be done the right way so that it's not a discourage or a, you know, downplay of your accomplishments. So that's my answer to that question.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really, I like people who are straightforward and tell me like it is. Like I really don't want yes people. I'm always, even people on my team, I'm like, look, I am always open to constructive criticism. Let me know if, I want to know. And I have another friend who just something as simple as like, she'll text me and say, hey, you got a typo on that post you just put up. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Oh
thank you
yeah.
so much. I am grateful for those people in my life who like, and I'm grateful, my husband, he can sometimes be hard on me, but I appreciate his honesty. And I think that's important. And, his whole family's out in Miami. And that is where I had a big book party.
Did you really?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
know that.
It's
That's awesome.
a bookstore called Books and Books out in Miami. And let me tell you, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. When I went to go check out the store, I thought I'd be, in the back of the room signing a couple of books. I don't know that many people in Miami, his family. And I get there and there is a room and they've got chairs set up and there's a podium with a microphone. And at this point, I hadn't even done a lot of speaking, but I was like you, I was like, this is my dream. I am going to go for it. And it ended
Mhm.
up being the most amazing time. And you know what? There's real power in social media because I had people show up that I just knew from social media and I got to meet them for the first time. I mean, actually, that's how you and I met. I connected with you on social media, and then we ended up being in a mastermind together. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I follow you on Instagram. And I'm like, and now I'm so grateful. I'll get to, knock on wood, God willing, that I'll get to see you soon in Vegas. And I'm excited about Miami. I would love to go to Miami for
Yeah.
your party. When is that going to be?
I don't know. That's the thing. So I commit to something and I'll figure it out. So the next thing right now, obviously, we have to watch and see what's going on with COVID. You don't know
Yeah.
for sure. So I'm going to
Yeah.
kind of like watch that for the next week or so and then start planning. And I'm also really good at letting other people do the work, get a vision and let other people implement and put them in place to do that because it frees me up. I can't plan the party myself. I can't
Hmm.
do all the work for it. So what I need to do is I need to have the vision to do it and then find the right people that put it into action. And that's what I'm going to do. But it's going to be obviously next year sometime. The books I'm planning, the pre-sale was already put out last week. But February 7th is the aim date for the release, which is my birthday. And
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
it just so happens that we're going to do it that way. And then soon after there, sometime February, March is what we're looking at.
Well, I think I'm hoping by then things will be a lot better. I mean, we've got the vaccine coming out. And I love a couple of things that you just said. First of all, you said you're really good at like letting people help you and kind of delegating things. And I think that is what a successful leader, what it really takes, because you can't do everything on your own. And when I was launching my book, I was doing it all on my own. And if there was one thing that I could go back and change, I would have had a team that helped me so I could really enjoy the journey. Like, so you can really be there in Miami and enjoy being in the moment instead of worrying about, okay, I got to plan this, I got to post about it, I got to, so I think that's amazing that you're doing that. And just that you're like, I need help with this, we're going to be better as a team if I have people that I can
Yep.
delegate this to. So I love that you said that. I think that's what it takes to be a good leader. I know that you have, or you're licensed with Grant Cardone. Now, some people might not know who that is. He's huge in the entrepreneurial and business world. Can you share a little bit about Grant, how you met and what that means to be licensed with him?
Yeah, being licensed just allows you to work off his content, teach off his content, and make money off his content. And I use it in different ways. Some people use it more just focused on all 10x Grant Cardone. I mix it in with mine, and I did it for access. But back in when I was 11 and I moved back with my mom, there was a guy named George my mom married, and that was my stepfather. And he stepped in right at the right time at that young impressionable age when I was about to go through puberty and a lot of changes happening. He stepped in, and he was a very black and white kind of guy. Like you either do good and good things happen, you do bad things happen. And one of the things with George is that he would like play ball with me, go to all my games. Like I wasn't even his son. He didn't even really know me that well, but he stepped right in. It was just like a perfect fit. He wasn't really good with money, like making money. He was good about stretching it like a long ways, but he wasn't good about, and that's not what he cared about. He cared about activities, hunting, fishing, all that. And by the way, he was really quiet when he was sitting on a couch or going to a party somewhere. But then if you started talking about hunting, baseball, fishing, football, anything like that he was passionate about, he would just jump up and like he's got deep voice and get right in your face and talk about it, get all excited. And he was really passionate. And so throughout my years growing up, he was hard on us, never physical, but hard on us, and always taught us right from wrong and led us in the right direction. So he was a mentor to me. And so when back in 2019, February, he was coming out of the woods hunting, and he died of a heart attack suddenly. And at that time, I'm 41, I think at that time, I wasn't really ready to give up having a mentor. I think that I was ready to mentor, and I was mentoring people, but I wasn't really ready to give up a mentor. And right at that time, he passed away. About a week or 2 weeks in after that, my brother Casey and I felt this energy. And that's when my mission really started, where I felt like I got to go on this "What Are You Made Of" thing. I got to go talk about rocket fuel. And so I didn't know how I was going to do that. And here, my brother started reading the 10X rule. And called me up. He said, "Mike, you got to read this book. I think I heard about it before. I might have heard about Grant before. I didn't know who he was, this and that." He said, "You got to read this book. It sounds just like you." So I read the book, and I'm like, holy cow, man, this is validation that I needed. I've had an animal caged up inside of me all these years. I was worried about being hard on people, push them too far. I was worried about holding people accountable. I was worried about like my employees, if I held them to a task that they would leave. I was always worried about what people would think. And then I was like, I don't need to do that anymore. It's like it's like an unleashing and like uncaging of an animal. And so when that happened, I was like, okay, this is a great feeling. First of all, this is like what heroes make their people feel like. It was like, I feel great. I want other people to feel like this from me. So I said, let me just immerse myself in his content. And that was from afar. I just looked at YouTube videos, read the books, got on his programs. And then I went to the 10X Growth Conference in Miami. And
when was that? I was
February 18.
Okay.
And it was on Super Bowl Sunday. And I was just so impressed with everything that he did and how he put together things, and the talk that he was speaking to me. It was exactly what I needed at that moment. So I got my team on his training, and we just immersed ourselves. And then I started building relationships with people in his organization. And then went and played golf with Jared Glant, who's a buddy of mine now, who's the president of Cardone. And I just wanted to be around them all the time. Like it was like, I need this. This is something I need right now, because this is going to help me push my message out to people and show me how to do it. And finding a mentor, by the way, that's really, really key, is finding somebody that's doing what you want to do, or is where you want to be, or they're on the journey to the destination where you want to go. And that's what Grant was for me. And so I didn't even know him at that time. I didn't meet him for a year or so after that. And then I became a licensee, and then went to a lot of masterminds, and I shelled out a lot of money. I've probably spent over $300,000 with his programs, with him, masterminds, with some Brandon Dawson, who's another partner of his, Cardone University. I mean, I spent, and I say this number because I want people to understand how important it is to invest in yourself and to invest and pay for access. It sounds crazy, and some people shy away from these things. when like they see that and you're like, whoa, you're buying friends, you're buying, no. I'm
Mm-mm.
paying for access. These people, once they hit certain levels, their time is very valuable. So how do you get in front of them? How do you get their attention? Well, time is money. So you take money and then you buy time. And that's
Mhm.
what I did. And it's been, every time I spend money with him, I make more money. My team makes more money. My team's families are better off. So the whole thing works. And that's how I got involved. And to this point right now, I'm writing this book, and I haven't told everybody this, but I'll share it with you. He's writing the forward for my book. And so
That's amazing.
it's a great thing. And I always approach things when I have a mentor or teacher that I want to make them look good. So I don't know if this makes sense, but like if somebody's, I think it comes from when I'm teaching people, if they don't do what I want to see success and they don't have success, it hurts me inside. And I
Mhm.
don't want anybody to have that feeling. So when I work with someone, whether it's a teacher or if I buy something from someone, a vendor, I make sure it works. I make
Mhm.
sure they look good.
Mhm.
That's what I think in my mind. And so my thing now is I want to be a case study for him and his content, and for people that have invested with him, to show people what that content does. And I don't know, that's a long-winded answer, but
That's amazing, and I'm so glad that you brought up. I'm big on mentors. I mean, I've had a mentor since I was a kid. I started teaching dance at 13. I had a mentor. She's still in my life to this day. She not only taught me how to teach a dance class, but she taught me life lessons that carried over into my fitness career. I mean, she used to
yeah.
say, I don't care what's going on in your life. When you show up to teach, you put the needle on the record and you turn around and you teach that class with a smile on your face. I mean, she was hardcore, but she taught me the business side of how to run a business, and that carried over. And then when I got into fitness, I had a mentor who owned a fitness business, and I learned from him. And then when I got into speaking, people think that, I have people ask me all the time, well, how did you get on that stage? How did you, go and become a speaker? How did you do this? I'm like, well, first of all, I went to a teacher who taught me how to put together a presentation, and that was $5,000 just for a 5-week program of how to get, and so I'm
people
really
people don't
glad.
see the journey.
I
The
mean,
journey to success is invisible, and that's
oh
the
yeah,
problem. So yeah.
it's a long journey, and I'm glad that you brought up that you spent money, you invested time and a lot of money to learn these things, because man, did I invest too, a lot of money and a lot of time doing things. And so I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to ask you, before we start getting into some other exciting things that you're doing, what keeps you motivated? Because I see how much you do with, I mean, you're coaching people, businesses, you've got your book, you're involved in masterminds, you're helping so many people. Your website's beautiful. And I was like,
Thank you.
"Oh my God, he sells coffee mugs, shirts, jewelry." Like, what you don't there's nothing that you don't do. How do you stay motivated? And do you believe in like a work-life balance, or more of kind of a harmony? Because I can't seem to
Yeah.
figure out how to create balance.
Well, first of all, I'm just following a blueprint. So Grant does all this stuff already, whether you like him or not. Some people hate on him and this and that. He has a blueprint for success. I'm just following it. By the way, there's so much to do. So what I do is I take little bits of time and incremental
Mhm.
additions to my game. And I just keep adding little things to it. And before you know it, you look back and you're like, wow, look at all the stuff you put together. I don't even realize some of the stuff. You're noticing some things you're throwing up to me. And I'm like, whoa, I forgot about that. I just keep putting things in place and not worrying about, uh, I have urgency in action, but I don't have urgency in seeing the results. You follow me? So you got to
Yeah.
have patience in seeing results, but urgency with action. What motivates me? One, I'm a believer in God and a creator. Okay. And I believe that when I was put on this earth, and what all of us are put on this earth, we have a purpose and we have certain potential that was given to us. I feel it's a slap in the face of my creator to not go after everything I was put here for. Now, that's the way I feel. I don't know if it's right. I'm sharing with, you and the audience of that's how I feel. And I think that if I in a situation where I could go further and I stop and I say, I'm good today,
Mhm.
that's not right. it's a moral, ethical obligation to me to keep going. And so that's what motivates me. As far as that, also the story I told you about my dad. I mean, I always think no matter what, that he's watching me, and I
Mhm.
cannot let that happen. So that's another thing. And the other final thing I'll say in regards to that is that I never think I'm doing enough. I always think I need to step up my game and do more. And when you say, for example, and don't take this the wrong way, but when anybody says, "Hey, C-Roc, you're killing it," or "Hey, you're doing this," and gives me those things, I also convert that into fuel because I feel like, wait a minute, I don't want, I'm such an enemy to complacency that I don't want to let myself slide and hear that. I take it and I'm grateful. Don't get me wrong, but it's an internal thing. I'm just being transparent and sharing with you that I say, oh, okay, wait a minute. I need to step it up a little higher now. So again, I don't know that this is right. I'm just sharing with you what I do. And then your question, the final question was about balance. And I believe that you need to make sure that you're focused on all areas of your life, because if you don't and you let one suffer, this one suffers. So if you let your family suffer, your work's going to suffer. So even if you're focused on your work and 10x in your work and add rocket fuel to your work, but you're not your family, your work is going to suffer because the family problem will become a problem that is going to affect your work. So to me,
Mhm.
it's like, look in what areas need help right now. Analyze what areas and give the most attention to the area that needs the most help at that time, and then move around that way. Whatever you want to call that, whether that's balance, harmony, I just think that everything needs to work, and you need to know that everything is going to need attention at times, and some more than others. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, it does. And I mean, it goes with, and you're so right. I can, I'm stubborn as well. I tend to really, I'm really good at the grit. It is the giving myself grace and kind of, resting, even taking a
Mhm.
nap or listening to my body more instead of pushing, pushing, pushing. But I know that if my health isn't good, then I can't be an active mom. I can't be the wife that I want to
Yep.
be. My business starts to suffer because I can't think creatively because I'm in pain or whatever that may be. So I think that is important to create that balance so you can have that rocket fuel in all areas of your life. What inspired you to write your book?
I think when went through with George passing, my stepfather George, when I went through with him passing, I started to journal because I felt like I needed to get something out of me. And then I also felt like, wow, life's short. Man, shoot. What did I do with all my life? Like, what have I been doing? I'm 40 years old now and I haven't really accomplished what I'm here to accomplish. Then I
Mhm.
realized my window's so short. It's like, oh man, I got to figure something out with this. I got to jam everything I possibly can in this short window. All right. Then I was like, okay, so what have I been riding off of? What have I been using? Okay, it's rocket fuel. It's turning setbacks into rocket fuel. I've done this my whole life. I need to get this out to people. I see people all the time talking about comebacks and getting through tough times, but I heard rarely people actually converting it and using it as fuel. So I wanted to get this message out to people and share my story, because I'll go back a little bit more. When I heard Pete Vargas, I don't know if you know Pete Vargas, but
Uh-huh.
he spoke at that first growth con that I went to, and Pete told his story about his relationship with his dad, and he's got this framework that he uses that really grabs you, man. And then you listen, you're like, wow, he's talking to me. And then he tells his content so that you already he's got you by the heart. And then he tells his content, which works. It's legit. It's not like he's scamming or anything like that. So he shared a story, and I'm like, wait a minute, I have a story like that. Let me start sharing some of this to people. So I did, which I thought was ordinary. And I thought, most people don't share their story because they think it's ordinary. It's not exceptional enough. They're embarrassed by it, or they underestimate the power to inspire millions of people. So I became aware of this. I'm like, well, let me share this. And people started being intrigued by it. And I'm like, if I tell this story to someone and they're intrigued by it, and I tell it to another one and they're intrigued by it, then if I do this to millions of people, this can impact the world. So that's where it came from. And then that's first step to me was podcast and then book.
Mm.
So, and then that's it. So really I wake up every morning figuring out ways to get known and become a celebrity, and not for ego, but for impact.
I love that. And that is motivating. That's where I get motivating is thinking of my why. Why is it that I want to get this message out there? And I think that, sometimes when you're going through a hard time or you have a past experience, I used to carry a lot of shame about things that happened with my childhood, and a lot of shame about the way I look after my motorcycle accident. And once I learned to just embrace that and accept who I
Yeah.
was, what I went through, and I could share that experience, I noticed that's how I really made meaningful connections. And when it's so inspiring when you meet someone, just hearing your story and you sharing about your childhood, I'm like, oh my gosh, no wonder we connected instantly. I mean, I grew up so similar. And when you meet somebody that has gone
Mhm.
through experiences and you see how they use that as rocket fuel to propel them to level up and level up and level up, it is just so inspiring. So I can't wait to read your book. Before we go, or can you tell us about other exciting things that you have going on? I mean, I know I've listened to
Yeah.
your podcast. Your podcast is amazing, by the way. So
Thank you. Uh,
podcast, I've got your book coming up, and tell us anything else that you have going on right now.
one of the things about that podcast, to me, like I see we shouldn't compare ourselves because I see other people's podcasts and I'm like, wait a minute, I got to do this. And I'm so critical of it. But I did just not think about things. I just went at it with that. So I encourage people, if you want to do a podcast or whatever you want to do, don't try to perfect it. Commit to doing it and then just take steps to going into it, because then you never know. Like, people have said great things about my podcast where I don't feel the same way yet. So it's
I
it's
thank
it's a
you for
crazy
saying
thing,
that, because
you
I
know?
swear, when I first looked at your podcast, I was like, oh my gosh, he has almost 300 ratings and reviews. And it's easy to get into that comparison trap. And I'm like, I don't have that many. And we started our podcast around the same time. And I'm like, stop it. Just
Hmm.
keep putting your message out there, because it's when I get a message from somebody that says, oh, I just listened to that episode with, Dr. Renee or Trent Shelton that you did, and it really moved me. So thank you. It's those messages that keep me
Yeah.
going. So, gosh, thanks for sharing that, because
Mhm.
I never would imagine that you would look at yours and go, "Oh, I'm not there yet." But I feel the same way. I'm like, I'm learning. I didn't know what I was doing, and I'm just like, but I have this passion in me to get other people's stories out there so they can give their tips and tools
Yeah.
and really empower others. And so, yeah, anybody out there wanting to start a podcast, just do it. Like,
And,
just
and it,
start.
I don't even care. By the way, I don't even care about subscribers. I don't care about ratings. I don't even care about all that. What I look at is, how can I get known? How can I be everywhere? That's what Grant taught me. Be omnipresent, be everywhere. So I take my podcast and I repurpose it. I break it down into 30 1-minute clips, whatever, and then post it everywhere. Like, it's on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just put it everywhere, YouTube. And that's what matters to me. The podcast subscribers, if they come, I don't even know how to figure out if I have podcast subscribers.
I don't
And,
either. I
and
don't know.
so,
Somebody asked me, like, I don't
nah,
know. I'm not that good at that.
nope. Just look at it as one, you're doing a journal for yourself. You're able to therapeutically journal via video. You practice speaking, right? It helps you practice speaking and get out of your comfort zone. There's so much that comes along with it besides subscribers and ratings and all that jazz. So, I just encourage people, just get started on it and just do it and see what comes and watch the flower that blossoms. I mean, that's
Mhm.
not very masculine to say, but just watch how you become, a butterfly. That's not even masculine,
Yeah.
but
Hey, I
you know
got
what
my
I mean?
butterfly back there.
Yeah.
But
So
you know what? It's so true. It does help you. And let me tell you, I record when I do my introductions for guests and stuff. I record in my closet because my office shut down. My office building shut down. So now I'm in my home office, and it's quietest in my office in my coat closet. But it was scary the first time I went to like record, and I'm just in the closet with a microphone, and it felt so serious. And my daughter came in and she's like, Mom, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to record this and I'm kind of nervous. She goes, "Oh, Mom, this is what you do." And now she's 12, and she just grabs the mic and she's like, hi, she pretends to be me. And she's like, "Hi, I'm Amberly Lago, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, sometimes we need our kids to show us, like, stop taking yourself so seriously, have more fun,
yep.
just do it, and so yeah, I too, I have a podcast editor, and she sent me an email, "Congratulations, you hit a milestone for downloads." And I'm like, "I did? how do you even see that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
But
but just to mention some other things, we're doing working with loan officers in the mortgage industry because I have a large group that I run with some best friends, 40 employees. We're doing great, but I want to share other uh, with other loan officers and other companies how we've had our success. So I have a sales call that we're doing in the morning time at 9 a.m. It's coming out soon. It's going to start next year, which is at 9 a.m. for 20 minutes. We get fired up because we do it on our team already anyway, and it's in Grant Cardone inspired morning meeting. And if you've ever been to a
is
Grant
that
Cardone,
every day? Is it going to be
yeah, it's going to be Monday through Friday, 9
wow.
a.m., 20 minutes. We're going to just get fired up, get ready for our day. And basically, Grant taught me this at his company. You go there in person. Not a lot of people have had the opportunity to see this. Culture building 101. I mean, they celebrate wins. They clap when they're coming in. They play some music. It's like an energy thing. And then they celebrate wins and they also get inspired for the day. And a lot of loan officers, a lot of people actually in any companies do not have the opportunity to do that. Most of them don't have a team. They don't have culture where they work. They don't have support. I want to get that out to people and not just keep it in our own little group. So it's a package deal thing. It's really inexpensive, but it's every day, man. Monday through Friday. I think it's, I don't know, $300 or something like that for the month. But I guarantee you when you get involved with that, now I only deal with loan officers right now, but if I do make special exceptions if people beg, and that's through this sales call and the training that we're doing. But I guarantee you that if somebody gets one more loan for the month because they have been inspired or they push a little harder that month, they're going to triple or quadruple their money.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the concept behind it. So that's what we're working on now, along with a training platform for loan officers, a digital interactive training platform that is going to basically show people how we've blown up our mortgage business 800% in 2 years.
Okay. Now, is that going to be like an evergreen course or is that going to be
Yeah.
you? Okay.
That'll be an evergreen course. I do one-on-one coaching with it. I'll have masterminds with it. It's just right now, though, that's going to be an evergreen course to get people on the track of where we are so they really understand the way we think, how we operate. And I'll give you a little insight on something. Today, I've had a sales meeting every day with my team. And we talked today about why they chose to work with me. Why are they choosing to work on C-Roc's team? Why are they at Nations Lending where we work? What is the reason? And specifically, and we went down the team and everybody told why. Because I wanted them to really be grateful, first of all, why they're working where they are and understand why they chose it, and then make sure they take advantage of those things. And so we did that today. And it's important to really understand why you are where you are so that you don't take it for granted.
I love that. And I love the culture that you're building. You're instilling, the gratitude, how, being grateful is such a huge part of your life. And just empowering so many. I think that's amazing. Where can people find you if they want to beg to be,
Beg, if you're not a loan officer, beg to work with me.
beg to work with you? But where can people, first of all, where can people find your book, your courses, maybe coach with you? And especially if they're a loan officer, get on the C-Roc team. Where can people do that?
The best way to start is to buy the book. And that is at Mike C-Roc with no K, Mike C-Roc with no K.com/book. And if you go there and get the book, you'll be on our, obviously subscribed, and you'll get all the updated news. But I really love engaging with people on Instagram. And that's at Mikey C-Roc, Mikey, MikeyCroc, at Mikey C-Roc. Send me a DM, engage with me. I love talking to people on Instagram. I love lifting people up and encouraging people. And that's the best way to keep up with everything that I'm doing.
Yeah. And you know what, you guys, screenshot this if you're listening on your phone and tag C-Roc and me and let us know what your favorite part of this episode was, because he really dropped some nuggets in there, nuggets of gold. And thank you so much for being here with us. You are so awesome. And I can't wait to see you in Vegas. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. If there's anything I can ever do for you, all you got to do is holler.
Thank you.